Hey guys, just gonna show you I've been disassembling a lot of the things from the MAME cabinet I'm going to be working on, and this is the lower back panel there, MDF that came out of it. That's the upper panel that normally wouldn't be taken off, but I took it off so I could have access to the back and try to see if I can fit that 25-inch monitor. There's the control panel overlay right there, and there's a piece of wood behind there, plywood that was used just to make the cab more rigid in the upper part right in front of that square piece of MDF there. And there's the marquee and a piece of plexiglass that was over it, the plexiglass that was over the screen, and the bezel. And we just got a litter of parts on in here. A couple pieces of scrap wood there by some of my posters, and they were just near the coin box, and I'll show you the coin box in a second. Very, very strange looking, and I'll tell you why it's strange looking. Okay, there's a 19-inch tube, and it is a Zenith, and all I can find online is it comes up as being compatible TV tube that can be switched into an arcade machine, so I'm not 100% positive. This may actually be out of a television. I don't think it is, but the model there on it is A48 ACB32X, and every time I tried to look it up on Google, it just kept coming up as being tubes that could be taken out of televisions to be used for arcade projects. So I don't know if it was actually supposed to have been used or not for an arcade machine, but you know, I can't find any evidence that, you know, it's a television tube. It looks like an arcade tube to me. I don't know if there's much differences in them, but anyways, the chassis for that, which I said it was a Sharp earlier, I think it's a Sharp Image is the actual name brand. I've never dealt with that before. There's the PCB, and like I say, it's in pretty good shape. I'll probably test it in one of my other cabs here just to make sure. I mean, they showed me it booted up, but I'll probably end up selling that along with some of this other stuff. There's the JAMA harness that came out, the complete harness. I just left all the connectors on there, didn't cut anything except for a wire that goes up to the speaker. I left it pretty long, and I left a connector there on it, that yellow wire, and left a few inches off the other side in case somebody ever wanted to use this in another cabinet similar to this. And all the buttons are there on it, and the trackball, it's all still wired in. And there's the very weird coin box I was telling you about. Very strange. It was made to slide down inside the cabinet. Has a very tiny little pop-out access door there to get the coins out. These two slots is where the coins would fall in from each coin acceptor. And had the handle on the front. And here on the side, there was a hasp that would close around that, and there was actually a padlock that should be put on that to keep anybody from, you know, pulling it out of the machine and trying to steal the money. But this is all made out of plywood. I've never seen one like that. And reason, you know, it is kind of funny like that, I think, is because that cab's even older than I think. And this is kind of what gives me the clues to it. This is the isolation transformer, and it's a little bit dirty looking. Got a little bit of rust on it and everything. I'm not sure if I'll be reusing that or not. Probably get a brand new one if I do need to use an isolation transformer. But this power supply here is just freaking huge, and it's got two 10-amp fuses in the back and a big fan on-off switch on there, and it's just got all kinds of inputs on it. If you take a look, and I mean, there's just there's connectors galore, and each one has a table underneath there that tells, you know, what each each pin in the connector is for. Like that right there is basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This one is like 6 AC out connections, and this one, I don't know what it is. It says, okay, fluorescent 1, fluorescent 2. That's probably what it stands for. Next one on over, I'd have to take a look at it for a while. I don't know what that is either. The next one's a 24 volt connector. Then there's a 5 volt connector, another 5 volt, a 12 volt, a 12 volt, a negative 12 volt, a negative 5 volt. It's basically got every output you could possibly think of. And there's even some more on the bottom for more plus 5 volt and grounds and stuff. It's just got so many inputs. I don't know what this was originally used for. I do believe that this was originally used in this cabinet though, because the way it's mounted, if you can look down on a piece of plywood, it fits perfectly on that piece of plywood, and that piece of plywood looks original to the cabinet because it has some red veneer on it. And the way it was mounted in the back of the cabinet, if I could show you, let's see, I don't knock everything over here. Down at the bottom of that piece of MDF, there's a hole cut out. And it's the perfect size to let that power supply peek out so that you can have access to the back of it. And the fan, you know, can blow out and you can get access to the fuses and all. And it looks all original. So I'm thinking that that's the original power supply that came in that cabinet. And the year on this power supply, if I can show you in the vid, I don't know if I can find it again. Let's see. Yeah. If you look right there on that label, the year is 1985 for the manufacturing date. So this cabinet's pretty old. Made in Japan. YEC, I believe is what it says. Kind of hard to tell. Or YEO. And 1985, I mean, shoot. We're talking 27 years. So it's been a long time. But I don't know what the inside of it looks like. It may have been rebuilt, but either it was the original power supply and the people who put this kit in there for this game just wanted to use just the outputs they needed, because it only had a couple connectors connected, and then it had on top right there had that AC out used for a fluorescent light in the top of the cabinet. And I'll tell you something interesting about that again in a minute, but that's just all the parts. I just wanted to show you that I've got littered about that I've been taking out of the cabinet. And, you know, it's just, I'm building a little collection of parts here. But, show you the cabinet in a second. And here's the cabinet. I've just about got it completely gutted. I took that old, the gold T-molding off. It was extremely ugly. And it went all the way down to the bottom and was tucked under the edge of the bottom, probably to about right there, a few inches. And then they had a gigantic screw, like a 3-inch screw up through the T-molding just to hold it on the bottom, so I had to tilt the cab up. And I kept pulling, I thought it was a nail, and I pulled one of them clean out of the plywood, so it just kind of stripped it out. And then I realized it was a screw and tilted the other up where I could get to it and actually took it out slowly with a screwdriver. Didn't really hurt anything, but I guess they just done that to run the T-molding a little bit easier somehow. But the rest of it, you know, it was just popped in the slide all the way around, and then over the top up here, don't know if you could see, to about right there, I think. The slot goes even further. I think the T-molding only comes to about right there, but it seemed like it had a little touch of glue right there, just helping to hold it in. And there's a power switch up here, and it wasn't even wired. The wire coming from it is this right here. That's exactly the way it was, hanging down the back of the cabinet. So I guess they just had that power supply in there, the switch on it turned on, and it was just set to plug up and just use it all the time, because the switch for that power supply was in an internal switch on the inside of the cabinet. But all I know that day is they just plugged it up real quick and showed me at work. I figured the switch was already on. But the switch is good. I tested it and it does work. So if I want to keep that switch in to use for cutting the cab on and off, I can. Or I can just, you know, put my own. So I don't know what I'm going to do yet. But it's just a good old mechanical toggle switch. Good heavy duty one. Got some wires coming down back here. Let's see. This is good long wire for the speaker, and this right here is for the marquee light. They have pieced it several times. Let's see if I can show you. There's one piece right there. It comes down, it's a white cord from that marquee light right there, and I believe this is an aftermarket edition here. I don't think this is originally in the cab because there's a switch on it on the inside. But anyway, this was pieced here, and then come on, then it was pieced right before the plug too. And I plugged it up to see if it worked because I couldn't remember when they showed me. And this had been plugged into the top of the power supply at the 120 volt AC out on it, or 110 volt AC out. And I couldn't remember if it worked, so I just plugged this up to an outlet here, or an extension cord on an outlet, and it wouldn't come on. And then I went around and looked from the back part, and I was like, there's a switch on there. And lo and behold, I flipped the switch to the other position and the light came on. But the light, I believe the tube is going out on it. I think it needs a new tube because it just barely lights up on this end here and the other end, and the center's kind of dark and it just kind of flickers right here on this end. So I think the actual light unit, the ballast or whatever is in there, I believe it's good, but I believe the bulb needs to be replaced. And there's the speaker. Don't know if you can see it in this light. Little speaker right there, and the wiring coming down from the speaker. I'll probably replace that because I've got a full set of speakers. I'll probably hook up, have stereo sound in here when I'm done. But there was a like I said, there was a piece of MDF covering the back part right here, going all the way to about right here, and then the lower part, which you would normally take off to access the inside of the cabinet. And there was another structural piece of plywood that was mounted right here, and it went across here just to kind of brace the cabinet and make it a little less wobbly. I took that off because that was killing probably about 1.5 inches of depth that I needed to try to fit that bigger monitor in here. And control panel looks pretty plain now. Got the overlay off of that, and took the trackball and buttons out and all that. Coin makes are still in it, but drop it open, you can see it looks really bare on the inside now. A little bit of staining down there. I don't know if something was ever spilt in here or not. I'll probably just clean that up a little bit, maybe try to sand it some, and then maybe put some primer on it, or some Kills primer or paint or something like that, just to make it look a little prettier. And you can see back there that light colored square is where the power supply used to be mounted. I'm blurring up on you now, sorry about that. Don't have anything good to focus on. Okay, but that's where that big power supply was. Got that out of there. And right here in the front, again, I should have brought more light out, but that's where that crazy coin box was mounted. And you can maybe kind of see, let's see if I can get a little closer. I don't know if you can see or not, but there's a hasp right there. That's what locked onto the coin box, that little metal hasp. Went ahead and left this service button in there. I thought that service button was kind of neat. It says service on it, and it's got the normal switch inside there, like, you know, almost like a cherry switch, but it's just mounted a little bit differently behind there, like some of the older arcade buttons that are in some control panels are. And of course, like I said, the old plastic coin makes, those are probably coming out. But I got a feeling what I'm going to do is just rebuild this control panel and just put a whole new piece of wood over that there. And I'm not sure if I'm going to leave this, you know, opening the way it opens like that or not. I mean, it's kind of neat because it gives you access in here and you can mount stuff, you know, like, you know, maybe the main PCB or something. But I just don't, I'm not positive I'm going to keep that or not. What this may end up doing is I may end up making this two pieces here, one large piece of plywood, and just take all this off and make it where it does just have a control panel that just either is removable or it just, you know, folds over like the Mortal Kombat 2. And if I do that, then I'm definitely probably going to come out another couple of inches, make the control panel a little bit bigger to the left and the right, and then maybe a little bit to the front, just to give a little more room in case I want to put a trackball in there. And if I do that, I'll just use the specifications and measurements and stuff from this plywood that's here, and I'll just add a little bit to it and come back and rebuild it the same way that this is built. You might reuse a few parts or something, but you know, just kind of keep it basically put together the same, but maybe change it a little bit. Just wanted to show you that. And this part here, like I said, that had the old monitor in there, this framework piece here, it's probably going to come completely out. And I don't know, I'm still going to have braces here on the sides. They're probably going to be lowered a little bit and maybe slightly less angle, and might even be angled more like that. And the monitor is going to be here on the, you know, facing the front, and it's not going to have very much clearance at all. If I can even fit it in there, it's probably not even going to have an inch clearance. And I don't know if that's going to work or not. It might just look completely ugly, but if it does, I don't know how I'm going to put a bezel over it. It's going to have to be a very thin one, and a piece of plexiglass maybe. And I might change this too. This piece of plywood that goes down at an angle there, I might change that to give more clearance for the monitor and everything. Might raise it up some, or just completely change it out with another piece and mount it in there about the same way. But a lot of options, lots of different things I can do. Just starting out. Probably the next thing I want to do is pull that ugly bowling artwork off the side there, see if I can scrape that off without hurting the veneer that much, because like I say, most likely I don't know if I can pull this off, because I mean this stuff's on there pretty good. So I might just use a little wood putty to try to, you know, after I take off this side art, try to fill in this little crack that's on this side over here, this scratch that runs the full length of the cabinet. Might just fill that in with a little wood putty, sand it down, and just paint over this veneer. But if I don't think that's going to look good, I've heard that you can just, you know, apply veneer over veneer. You just rough it up some with some sandpaper and put your adhesive on, and put your adhesive on the back of the new veneer. Wait a little bit, maybe 10 minutes or so, and then apply the veneer right on top of this veneer. And so I could change the color and put some brand new veneer on it. So lots of options. But anyway, I'll let you go for now. Talk to you guys later.